before joining IIM, I was working with Morgan Stanley for 3 years, and those 3 years were pretty fruitful. I got straight promotions. I went on to lead a team across New York and Bangalore. And at the end of it all, I realized that yes, I was leading a team, but was I taking the shots? Was I taking the calls that are strategic in nature? No. So what I was doing was I was executing somebody else's plan, which is where I believe the need for an MBA came about, and more so for consulting, because in consulting, effectively, what you're doing is you're trying to come up with a strategy, and in many cases, going on to implement that. So to be the thinker and being the brain behind the plan appealed to me far more than being the brawn which basically goes on to implement the plan. Now, don't get me wrong, both of them are equally important. But then again, for me, I think my genetics was such that I always prefer the strategic side, which is what pushed me into consulting.
I think a very honest answer to that would be that most of us don't have a clue that what do we want to do, and consulting gives us an opportunity to experience a wide range of fields and and functions also. So you get to experience different industries as well as different functions.
Right. Just to add to Rhythm, so I think I concur with the confusion point. I think MBAs are a confused folks. That's why we do MBA, sort of to open our options, and consulting does that. Another sort of way this manifests is the exit opportunities that come along. So, consulting is one sector. After a couple of years in consulting, you'll probably be able to exit in most sectors out there, but other sectors don't have the same flexibilities.
We all have come to this B school with one motive, right? We see ourselves in the next 5 years somewhere, and we have our own dreams and where we want to land up. Yes, consulting is one of the routes that pushes you to that dream a bit faster. If you want to earn money and you want to sit with the creme de la creme people of every company and be a learner as well as a strategist at the same time, consulting is the place for you.
Skill that I found that is really required in a day-to-day consulting job is that you need to be very sharp, and you should be able to ramp up on any new thing that is thrown at you. So, for example, in one of my cases, in the second week of the case, so I just got 1 week to to absorb all the context and what is going on. And from the second week itself, I was conducting training for people in an area, in a field that I have no experience of at all. So you quickly need to ramp up, and that just requires a lot of dedication and that sharpness that you need to do a lot of research, ask around people, take help, and all of those.
Yeah, I think on a very motivational level and on a very philosophical level, I would think that one more thing that a person needs to have, it's the desire to always try new things. Because if you are one person who is fixed to who has one singular passion, like I know a few friends of mine who are so into tech that they want to do tech throughout the year. But then again, there is another breed who wants to experiment, who wants to go ahead and try new things throughout. And I believe if you are one of them, consulting is the best place to be. And the second type of people, which also somewhat I fall into, would have been the second grade of people. And this is a very frank opinion of mine, is that if you don't know what to do and you're completely confused, then again, consulting is a very good finishing school. So I think I was reading an Harvard Business Review article somewhere which said that if you go to an MBA school, and then consulting first few years are nothing but a finishing school. So you effectively fine tune whatever you learned, put it into practice, venture into a multitude of industries, and it gives you and broadens your view a lot more than what any other profession would.
As a consultant, we take on a lot of kinds of roles. So you have the flexibility to move very swiftly from a researcher and analyst to a facilitator of, let's say, implementation projects, to somebody who's training other people, designing KPI metrics for people who are W age. You would be shifting roles just like that, right? But I think, what is most important as a consultant, when you're sitting right there, sitting in the chair of a consultant and trying to deliver value to your client, the utmost, I think, important part of the role that you play is somebody who is a reliable sounding board for your client. So that is I think the back end of every role that you will play. Whether you're crunching data as an analyst, whether you're being the confidant of some CXO suit person who's trying to get ideas, or maybe just trying to bounce some of his ideas off you. The first and I think the only thing that has kind of been sort of a guiding force or motive force for me is the fact that you always think at the back of your mind, whatever role I'm going to play, how is it going to add value to the client? And that is something that takes you forward.
In terms of sort of building the profile, I would say that by the time you enter your B school and summer internships are right around the corner, there's just not enough time to build a profile. So summer internships are a lot about what you've sort of come with, your undergrad, your work experience, what you've been doing so far. Of course, there are avenues in the first few months of B schools. There are competitions, you can be part of clubs, etc. But sort of like having a spike or having a spike is some demonstrable sort of mark of excellence. So probably there's not enough time. So whatever you've done, whichever stage you are, I think so sort of start looking at weaker sections of your CV and see if you can pick up new activities, you can participate in more activities and sort of build the profile.
The first thing that you need to know is, as Pratik pointed out, that partners love to use this phrase called from 30,000 feet up. So whatever you write in your CV, they don't want to know how you reach there or exact nitty-gritties, because those are details that are not necessary. But what you need to tell them is how your work was impactful. So rather than say that I used this algorithm to reach there, it is much better to state it as saved this amount for the company. So effectively, what was your objective for the work? What effect did it have on the bottom line, top line, or on the organization as a whole? Be precise, be as simple as possible, because nobody understands tech terms. Nobody wants to know tech terms on your CV. So be as simple as possible. So I remember in the first few drafts, and everybody will go through this. So you'll go to your seniors and you'll show your first draft and you'll think, wow, I worked for 6 hours on this CV. This is perfect. And then they will say that, look, this particular thing that you've written over here using this algorithm, this doesn't work. You don't need this. Chuck this out. So you will have multiple rounds of revisions, but keep one thing in mind, that no matter what happens, you have to keep it as simple as possible, so that any layman from any industry, whether you come from coding, whether you come from whether you're a doctor, your CV line should be understood by one and all, and it should give the crux as to what your job did. That is that is one cardinal sin that I would recommend everybody to avoid.
So my profile wasn't exactly the best at academics. So in most of my shortlist, I was probably in the bottom. If you'll arrange all the people in a descending order of grades, I would probably at the bottom. But I had strong PORs on my resume, so that was one section which kept me apart from the rest of the people. And then I realized that okay, to further build my profile, I need to brush up on certain work on certain more sections of my profile. So then I did some case competitions, uh, did a couple of live projects as well. So yes, these are the different things you can do apart from academics to make a good stellar profile.